sister didn't invite me to her wedding but invited all my friends, so they showed up in wild outfits as payback for not inviting me. You see, as the older sibling I was always expected to take care of Gigi from the time we were both kids. My parents expected me to pick up after her, help her with her homework, walk with her after school, and play with her because they were too busy with work. Sometimes even after work, my mother would come back and complain about how she didn't have the energy to spend time with Gigi and would ask me to read her a bedtime story. Gigi also didn't make it any easier on me. She would often say mean things and had trouble understanding social cues. She would say things to people without thinking, which would ultimately land me in trouble. For example, my parents would force me to take Gigi with me if I wanted to go out with my friends for an outing or to their birthday parties. And one time, Gigi came along with me to my best friend's place for her 13th birthday. We had all got her various gifts with our pocket money, which my best friend was very happy to receive. She also opened up a gift that her grandparents had sent her, and it was a Barbie doll house. Granted that we were a bit old to still play with Barbie, but clearly my friend loved the gift and she seemed a bit sentimental over it. Out of nowhere, Gigi started giggling, and when we all turned to look at her, she remarked how it was a dumb gift. I looked back at my friend alarmed and embarrassed for the way Gigi behaved. My friend looked heartbroken while Gigi kept giggling. I apologized to my best friend and told her that I was going to take Gigi back home. I was so embarrassed for how my sister behaved in front of everyone and was mean to the birthday girl for no reason. When I dragged Gigi back home and asked her why she would do something like that, she only smiled and told me that she said what we were all thinking and it was not her fault if my friend got hurt. I was so pissed and disappointed with her behavior. Later, when I told my parents about it thinking they might be able to talk to her and let her know what she did was wrong, they instead started to lecture me about being a better sibling. They told me that I should not feel embarrassed about Gigi in front of others and that I should stop being friends with people who can't handle the truth. I was floored by their reactions. Looking back, I can see how they always gaslighted me in multiple situations just to condition me into accepting my sister and taking care of her while she would get away with doing things like this scot-free. As I kept growing up, I would start to rebel and stand up to my parents when they would force me to take care of Gigi or take her to various events with my friends. I would straight up tell them that Gigi can hang out with her own friends or they can take care of her because I needed my own time. They would accuse me of trying to leave her out of things and not being a good sister to her since Gigi didn't have any friends. It was true that Gigi didn't have any friends, and this was completely her own fault, as she would say outright mean things to everyone in the name of being honest, and this would ultimately hurt people's feelings. This also led to Gigi sitting in lunch hours alone as no one wanted to sit with her, so my parents would force me to include Gigi on my table, which I absolutely detested. Eventually, after hearing multiple lectures from my parents, I did let Gigi join me and my friends and hang out with us. When I went to college, this is when I experienced true freedom. At first, my parents wanted me to go to a college near to my place, but I worked hard and luckily through a scholarship was accepted into a reputed university hundreds of miles away from home. My mother begged me to not go, saying how Gigi would miss me and that I needed to take care of my sister and be a good big sis, but I did not care a dime. I moved out of their home into my dorm and never looked back. I was so happy to be away from my family that even during vacations or long weekends, I never went back home. It was like I could breathe again for the first time, and I didn't want to go back to the suffocation back at my home. Now I was part of a Facebook group with my friends from school, and I had also added Gigi to the group since she would hang out with us. In this group, Gigi would sometimes message and ask if anybody would like to hang out with her, but not a single person would reply back to her. Granted that some of my friends, like me, had moved miles away for college, but I knew a few who were still living in the same hometown, yet they were not interested in hanging out with her. I knew that my friends only hung out with Gigi since I was forced by my parents to take her with me, but now that I was not there, they had no reason to hang out with her. I didn't blame them since Gigi never stopped being mean with her comments towards them, so I respected their decisions whatsoever. Yet Gigi would keep asking people in the group to hang out with her. I also heard from some of them that Gigi would try to call them directly to see if they wanted to hang out with her, but they would either make up some excuses or ignore her calls. Meanwhile, Gigi and I hardly talked. She and I had always been forced to be together, and I suspect she didn't like me as much as I didn't enjoy her company either, so now that I was away from home, we hardly ever messaged each other. My parents would sometimes call to give me updates about her life and tell me how I should try to visit them soon and spend time with Gigi, but I paid no heed to them. During my final year of college, I had gone back home since we were all having a school reunion. I was quite excited to see my old friends again and hang out with everyone. When Gigi learned about this, she insisted that she wanted to join me as well since she wanted to hang out with my friends, but this time I sternly told her that these were my friends who I had spent my school days with and she had no right to intrude in this event. My parents tried to argue with me, but I quickly shut them down. I informed them that Gigi needed to have her own friends and her own life without forcing me to take her everywhere since we were not kids anymore. I thought this would be the end of this matter. During the reunion, I found myself immersed in a wave of nostalgia and laughter as we all shared stories and caught up with each other. We reminisced about our school pranks and inside jokes. I was having such a good time with everyone. As my friends and I sat down for lunch during the reunion, out of nowhere, Gigi walked into the restaurant uninvited. I was shocked and frustrated to see her, as I had clearly told her to stop interfering in my life, but here she was. Gigi approached our table, and before I could say anything, she loudly declared, "Oh, I missed you guys." The awkward silence that followed was palpable. Everyone looked confused between me and her since they didn't expect her to show up. Gigi, oblivious to the discomfort, pulled up a chair and started talking about how long it had been since she had seen everyone. I was pissed seeing the nerve my sister had to talk to my friends right in front of me at an event where she was not even invited. My friends, trying to be polite, made small talk with her. I could see from everybody's faces how uncomfortable they all felt and we could not talk freely. After we had lunch, I took Gigi aside and asked her to go back home, but she dismissed, saying that this wasn't a big deal and that I should get over myself because these were her friends also. She was starting to get on my nerves with her nonchalant attitude and I was slowly seeing red, so I decided to teach her a lesson.